Good morning. I hope you are all well. So those of you that don't know me, my name is June Allen. I am a trauma therapist. I am a business coach. I'm also what else am I? A retreat facilitator, soon to be author, and I'm the founder of the Yard of Greatness at juneallen.net. So yeah, I wanted to jump on. I've been preparing for the two events I've got happening this week. I've got on Tuesday, I have my Sacred Sister Sanctuary, where we're going to be gathering to talk about unity and sisterhood. And then on this Saturday, I'm going to be hosting a Heal and Chill session, which is all about, again, sisters gathering together to kind of plan all of our self-care over the holiday period and have a bit of fun with some retro games and chilling and eating and music and yeah, just connecting. It's going to be really, really nice. I've just been planning for those two events, and today or this morning, I've been working specifically on creating some questions, preparing some questions, particularly for the session on Tuesday. So, in the Sacred Sister Sanctuary, there's a monthly live class, and what I do is it's a themed class. So, what I also do is I create a series of questions, what I call heart work questions. That's going to help you to reflect, it's going to help you to explore and think about your relationship, specifically to the topic that I'm bringing to the session. There's also going to be an opportunity to talk about any live current events and stuff like that that's happening as well. So, you can either choose to engage with the questions, or you can share on current stuff. Maybe there's stuff going on in the world that's upsetting you. Maybe there's stuff going on in your personal life, in your family or whatever, that you're finding difficult. So you can use the space to either get current, or you can use the suggestions that I'm bringing. So I just wanted to share with you some of the questions. There's 12 questions that there is for each session. So I just wanted to share some of the questions with you. So those of you that will be attending on Tuesday or thinking about attending, these are some questions for you to reflect on. There's 12 in total, but I'm not going to give you all 12 today. I'm just going to give you 3 or 4. So just to give you a bit of a flavour as to the types of things that we're going to be discussing on Tuesday evening. Okay, so the first one is, am I giving enough attention and nurturing? Sorry, am I giving enough attention to nurturing and maintaining the sister relationships that matter most to me? Okay, are you giving enough attention to nurturing and maintaining the sister relationships that matter most to you? So this one is really important because we can get so caught up in our lives, in work, in family, and all the rest of it. And sometimes our relationships get neglected. That's understandable. It's going to happen sometimes, especially if you're a parent, especially if you're a carer. It's gonna take a lot to make time. You have to be intentional about it, and that can be quite hard in this climate. Hi, thanks for joining. It can be hard in this climate when we're trying to be busy, trying to be doing things, trying to take responsibility for paying the bills and all of that kind of stuff. It can be really hard. But then what happens then is that it can leave us feeling quite isolated. Yeah, it can leave us feeling quite isolated, and what we don't want to do is withdraw and feel like we don't have any support. That's when we start to get in our heads and start thinking that there isn't anybody available. But it's not necessarily that there isn't anybody available. What's more than likely is happening is that you've just got caught up in everything that you're doing, and there's not enough time. So it's really about, when we think about the concept of unity in sisterhood, you have to first ask yourself, are you actually being intentional about your sister relationships, the women, the black women in your life that really matter to you? Are you really contributing to those relationships? Okay, that's question number 1. Okay, the next question I'm going to choose is, how do relationships within my family of origin impact how I show up in friendships with other black women? Okay, how do relationships with my family of origin, okay, impact how I show up in friendships with other women? In a nutshell, that means that you need to think about your relationship with the black women in your family of origin. I'm, for example, your mom, aunties, siblings, sisters. What is your relationship with those, both historically and in the present? And how does that impact your ability to actually show up and get close to black women in the present? This one is a huge one. this one is a huge one, and I was literally just doing some writing around this topic. Um, this morning, because I'm actually creating a wellness gift guide as well for the holiday season. It's going to be finished hopefully today. I wanted to get it done this morning, but it's just not been finished yet. But I'll get it posted out either the end of today or tomorrow at the latest. I've only got a few more little bits to do, so it'll be done by then. But yeah, so this is a huge one. So I was writing a piece around, the fact that I hear black women all the time saying that they don't like other black women, or other black women don't like them, and they don't trust other black women. I did talk a little bit about this in the live that I did previously when I was talking about what does unity in sisterhood look like, and how this is a conversation that comes up a lot with my clients, and it's something that's really, really important and really powerful to address quite early on in the relationship. And I share a lot about it in my work and stuff. I've done multiple live streams about this topic because I hear it so often, and it's something that a lot of black women find they have a lot of shame about it. They don't really understand why they feel like that. And it's a very complex issue, because there's the internal stuff around that's mirrored from the relationships that you've had in the past, i.e. your mom, or your the black women in your family, siblings, aunties, or cousins, all that kind of stuff. Or it can also be external in terms of it can be systemic, in the sense that, is it internalized racism, is it internalized misogyny, all of these things, so really it's important to really think about, make that connection and start to explore that. How have the relationships with your family of origin, particularly the women in your family of origin, how have they impacted, how you show up with black women in the present? And it might be that the men in your family have impacted that as well. That's also something to explore. So this is a really key one. So if you're struggling with your relationships with black women in the present, if you're that person that says that you don't trust black women and you find it hard to be around black women and to make friends with them and stuff like that, start to ask yourself these questions and start to really think about what that means for you. And if you're looking for a safe space to be able to start to unpack these questions, then you can click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. And you can either join me on Tuesday for the Unity in Sisterhood session, or that's online, 7 p.m. London time, or you can join me for the Heal and Chill session, which is on Saturday, where we're going to be talking about your self-care over the holiday period. And that's in Brixton at 11 p.m. 11 a.m. London time. That's in person. It's an in-person half-day retreat. Okay. So yeah, so you can, in those sessions you'll have a chance to unpack. You can actually start to think about, okay, well, how do I feel? How does being in this space really make me feel? And is it really true that I don't trust black women, or is it that you've got unresolved stuff that needs to be talked about and worked through, so that you can begin to receive the care and the sisterhood that you deserve? You deserve it. You deserve it. Okay. So the next question I want you to think about in the heart work, is, do you find it hard to let other black women care for you? If so, why? Okay, do you find it hard to let other black women care for you? This is a huge one. This was a huge one for me. And again, the article that I've written in the gift guide, in the wellness guide, um, is something that you'll be able to read. If you're on my email list, you'll be able to do it, and I'm going to put it on as a freemium, so you'll be able to download it. Hopefully by the end of today, or definitely by tomorrow. So yeah, and I did talk about this again earlier on in this week when I talked about the incident with Candice Brathwaite, when she talked about going to her dentist, and the woman, she was really scared and really vulnerable in the dentist, and the woman, or the assistant, held her hand and stroked her head, and she was in tears about it, and she didn't realise that she really needed that sisterly support, that tenderness that she received, and so it's about exploring for you. Do you have black women that you allow to care for you? And it doesn't always necessarily have to mean emotional support. It can be physical support, in the sense that, being intentional about having a black, like for me, an example is, I have a black masseuse. Okay, because not only is it really good for me to do that because it helps me to connect to my body, I specifically sought out this black woman because I wanted to experience the touch of another black woman, and to kind of check in with myself around where I was in terms of in terms of that, in terms of being close to black women, and just allowing myself to receive it, allowing myself to enjoy it, allowing myself to really be with those feelings, and allow myself to just accept anything that may or may not come up. Then maybe there's grief that might come up. Sometimes there's trauma that come up, especially if you raised in a home where your mom was violent and stuff like that. Sometimes these things, I think, that things we don't talk about enough. Okay, so really think about and ask yourself the question: if you find it really hard for black women to really care for you, and if so, why? What's blocking you being cared for by another black woman? Okay, because once you can get over that barrier, it really is quite beautiful. And in the article that I wrote as well, I talked about how, for years I worked with white therapists. I worked with white female therapists. I didn't know at the time, but I worked with white female therapists for a long time, because the idea of me being vulnerable with another black woman was just, there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to do that. There's absolutely no way that I was going to be able to do that. And I was unconscious at the time. I didn't know. But it's only after, I'd been in therapy for a little while and some of the layers had come off, that I recognized that that was the reason why I wasn't able to work with a black woman. And so obviously, I work with a black therapist now, a black female therapist now. And because of the work that I've done, and because of the layers that have come off, and I've been really allowed myself to be vulnerable, I'm able to talk about, how much courage it took for me to do that, to actually allow myself to be vulnerable and to allow myself to be cared for by another black woman. And it's so rewarding. It's good for my own self-esteem. It's good for my in terms of my allowing myself to be cared for, in terms of my relationships with other black women, just generally allowing myself to receive. And it's good for my own relationship to my own femininity as well, my own womanhood, my own black womanhood is as well, because when I allow myself to be cared for by others, it then becomes internalized. Okay, it then becomes internalized, and it means that my relationship with my own self, with my own femininity, becomes really stronger. So if you're struggling with any of these things, if you're struggling, if what I'm saying with you resonates, again, you can join me on Tuesday for the Unity and Sisterhood session, or you can join me on next Saturday in Brixton for the Heal and Chill retreat. Okay, so I'm going to share one last question. There is 12 again, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a flavour as to what's going to be what we're going to be talking about. So the last one is, how do I envision my ideal inner circle and the role of sisterhood in my life? What steps can I take to move closer to this vision? Okay, so this is your vision of sisterhood. Okay, how do I envision my ideal inner circle and the role of sisterhood in my life? What steps can I take to move closer to this vision? So essentially what the question is asking you is, asking you about your values around sisterhood, your values around friendship. What matters to you? Are your needs getting met? Is the relationship reciprocal? What are the values? What are the things that are important for you in sisterhood? I know for me, it's trust. I think trust has probably got to be one of the most important things. It's having a sense of humour is really important to me as well. Being emotionally intelligent is really important. As a therapist, I need to be around other women, other sisters that get it, that can understand what I'm talking about, that can talk with me on a level. Obviously over the years I've made friends with other therapists. I've made friends with other people that say in recovery and stuff like that are doing their own work. I know for me that I need to be around other people that are also emotionally intelligent so that I can feel nourished. This is something that I found really frustrating early on in my journey, because I found myself around, I kept finding myself around people that weren't really emotionally available, that weren't doing their own work, which left me feeling frustrated. And I ended up feeling like it wasn't reciprocal, because I felt like I was giving a lot, but I didn't feel like I was receiving enough. And that's where I needed to have boundaries around that. It doesn't mean that I don't like those people or that I don't care about them anymore. But what it does mean is that I need to be clear about where they are in terms of my circle. Maybe they get moved from the inner circle into a circle that's slightly outside of it, because I've grown, I've changed. It doesn't mean that I don't like those people, but it just means that, I need to find myself in circles and situations where I know that I'm going to be nourished. So, being really clear about your values around sisterhood, and hi, thanks for joining. Being really clear about your values and what you need from friendships and what you need from sisterhood is an important part of you getting your needs met. Okay, because once you're very clear about what you need from the relationships, then it's going to be much easier for you to communicate. It's going to be much easier for you to communicate those things. So again, if you were moved by the questions that I've asked today, and you're really interested in exploring the concept of unity and sisterhood, and thinking about what your friendships are like, or maybe you struggle when you don't have a lot of close friends and you want to start learning how to build them, these questions are great for you to start doing that. So if you're interested in joining me on Tuesday for the unity and sisterhood session, you can click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. And the same if you want to join me for the Heal and Chill session, which is next Saturday. It's 2 workshops. It's a half-day retreat. The first session is we're going to be talking about I'm going to help you to understand your relationship to the festive season. So we're going to be planning how you're planning your self-care over the holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. We're going to be planning it out for you so that to make sure that your needs get met and that you feel nurtured and nourished and all that stuff. And then in the afternoon, we're going to be playing a bit. So we're going to have some retro games as well. So maybe you remember, maybe you like playing jacks, maybe you like playing Connect 4, maybe your inner child wants to play with some black Barbies or whatever. Come down next Saturday, 11 o'clock till 3, and yeah, we can do all of that. So I hope that these questions were helpful for you. I'm going to read them again just so you can start to reflect on them. Okay, so the first one is, am I giving enough attention to nurturing and maintaining the sister relationships that matter to me most? Okay, the next one is, oh, excuse me. How do relationships with my family of origin impact how I show up in friendships with? Oh, excuse me. I hope I'm not getting a cold. How do relationships with my family of origin impact how I show up in friendships with other black women? Okay. The next one is, how do I find it hard to let other black women care for me? If yes, why? And the last one to think about is, how do I envision my ideal inner circle and the role of sisterhood in my life? What steps can I take to move closer to this vision? So I hope that those have given you some food for thought around your concept of sisterhood. Again, if you want to join us, you can join me on Tuesday or Saturday. On the session on Tuesday, you'll get obviously all 12. And then there'll be a healing circle on Tuesday so we can really unpack this. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you've got any questions about anything that I've shared today, drop a note in the comments, or you can send me a DM, or you can email me info@yardofgreatness.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have an amazing Saturday, and I will see you next time. All right. Take care. Bye.